All right, welcome to the Lead Generation World podcast. My name is Michael Faree. I think we're live. I just had a little issue there where it might have disconnected from our LinkedIn uh, live session. So I think I got it reconnected. Maybe if you guys are watching, you can comment, which you can do, which I want you to do. Whether you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, if you do throw us a comment as you join and say hello, that'd be awesome. We'd love to see you joining and all that sort of stuff. And then also confirm that it's working. So I appreciate you guys coming in and watching and joining in on the podcast. We got a really, really great conversation with Tom Shapiro, the CEO of Stratebeat, coming up in just a second. But first, I do want to share some information. Obviously, we've got Lead Generation World coming up this Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I can't believe it is literally right around the corner. I am so excited to get this show on the road, as they say, for a number of reasons. But I'm excited to have Lead Generation World take place in San Diego. We just have an awesome venue. I was just talking to Tom about, and we'll talk a little bit more about it when he comes on. But we have it's a resort, so we have tons of outdoor space and seating areas and fire pits and all this sort of stuff to meet outdoors. We also have two of our main networking events with live bands playing. That's going to be outside. It's just going to be literally and figuratively a refreshing conference to be at, and so hopefully we'll be able to see you there. In fact, you know what I'll do? I will actually, if anybody's watching and has not registered yet, I do have a $100 off code that you can use, and I'm going to put it up right now on here. It's just LGW22A. And if you use that to sign up, you get $100 off the registration. We have golf on Sunday, which is $100. So it's almost like free golf if you want to play. So we'll be doing that. But I'm really, really excited. We got Damon John, who's going to be keynoting the conference, kicking off at 9:30 on Monday. We've got all kinds of mixers and meetups and networking events. We've got a sold-out exhibit hall with about 60 different companies exhibiting. So I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope to see you there. So I suppose I should stop talking about that stuff, and let's bring in our guest, Tom Shapiro. Tom, how's it going, my friend?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Michael.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I really appreciate you, joining. And I was just talking about the show, and you're obviously going to be speaking. I'm super excited to have you out, and we'll get into your session a little bit later. But yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So I want to, what I normally do, I always check out our LinkedIn, our guest LinkedIn profiles. And the reason why I'm always curious about how people sort of get to where they are in their professional career and how it all started. And it's so funny. It's amusing because a lot of times that path, even on LinkedIn, is like, how the heck did they go here? Their degree is in like biology or something, and now they're doing lead gen or all these sorts of things. But I caught yours, and at least the first thing you have listed here is you were the international sales legal consultant for Panasonic. What the heck, and how'd you get in that position? How'd that come about?
Yeah, so I started out living in Japan for 6 years. Okay. So I spent my junior year abroad. I lived with a Japanese family. I went to a Japanese university. And then I had so much fun in Japan that I wanted to come back after graduating from university here. So I did that, and I wound up in total in Japan for 6 years. So while I was there, I applied to Panasonic, and they hired me. I'm very thankful. And I wound up there for 4 years. Now in Japan, it's not a litigious society. For every one lawyer that they have, the United States has something like 17 or 20,
Yeah, of course.
And so, they're just, companies don't sue each other. People don't sue each other over there. It's just not a litigious society. So everyone in our department, and this is Panasonic, this is multinational, right? Everyone in our department, I was in the legal department, none of us were lawyers, not one of us. And so we would just study copyright law and trademark law and patent law and all these different corporate types of law. And we'd be sitting across from Hewlett Packard and negotiating with their lawyers. And that's how I started my career.
Did you find that that was a problem? Was it a problem that there was that sort of lack of experience, I guess you would say, on the litigious side of things? Did it pose a issue for Panasonic?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Panasonic obviously is a very global company.
Yeah.
We were signing contracts and negotiating with companies all over the world, usually, global Fortune 500 companies. And no one asked, no one cared. If we were, across the table from, say, a team of 10 lawyers, none of them knew that we were not lawyers. And, they were all, good people, nice people, and just trying to do their job. And so, yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So what was the genesis though of moving to Japan? Was it family, military? What was it?
So I wanted to live abroad my junior year.
Of high school?
In college.
Oh, college. Okay, yeah.
And so I had to pick a language. And so I picked Japanese and wound up in Japan and living with a Japanese family. Yeah, it was crazy.
How was it? What was that like that first year? I mean, was it what you expected? Or was it obviously a culture shock of some sort, but
yeah.
What was it like?
Back then, there were very, very few foreigners in Japan. It's very different than it is today. And so wherever I went, I really stood out. And people stared at me everywhere I went. But, there's a good aspect to that. One was they felt like they could just come up to me and ask if I wanted to go out drinking with them or ask if I wanted to go out to dinner with them. And so it was the craziest, nuttiest experience. But that happened all the time. And
that's funny.
Yeah,
You're
just lots of
the circus freak almost. You're like, let's bring this guy to the show,
Yeah, it was really nuts. It was just crazy, but it was so much fun, and that's why I returned to Japan after I graduated from college here in the States.
Got it. Okay, so you lived there and then you it looks like you worked at a Japanese language service as well, did sales and marketing. Was going from the legal consultant to sales and marketing, was that sort of the entrance into the marketing world? Was that sort of the first toe into the water of marketing pool?
Well, I would say my experience at Panasonic was the first toe in the water because we were entering into a lot of multi-million-dollar contracts selling products. And so that, it involved quite a lot of different aspects of selling and marketing. And so that was really the first baby steps into marketing. And then, when I got to this tiny company in Boston, downtown Boston, and it was interesting because they were always very, very busy. The phone was always ringing, but most of the projects were small. And so a group of us got together at the company and we said, hey, who's our best clients here? And it was really large software companies like Adobe, right? We brought Adobe in and companies like that. And we said, well, they come in and they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for one project, for one product, one release. And they have lots of products and they have lots of releases. And so what if we got rid of all of our clients except for the Adobes of the world and we just focused on them? And so it was a bold move. We fired over half of our clients and we did it. We went all in and we wound up growing by 250% in the following 2 years. And we were acquired for multiples of our annual revenue. And so the owner became quite wealthy through the experience. But it was awesome. And so a very counterintuitive way to grow your business, firing over half of your clients. But that's what we did.
Yeah, well, it allows you to focus and really provide probably even better service, right?
Exactly. So we were able to specialize. We were able to focus, as you said, and that really freed us up. It enabled us to learn how to serve these software companies better than anyone else in the market. We were the experts. We understood them more deeply than anyone else. And we became more and more efficient at it, all of our sales were focused on one audience. We didn't have to splinter our attention. We didn't have to have multiple marketing messages. It was all very, very focused. And so we wound up winning deal after deal after deal. We pitched it, we would win it. And it was an amazing ride.
Now, throw you a curveball here. Do you take a piece of that learning and apply it to Stratabeat at all?
We do. So one of the things that we've done is we've decided to only focus on B2B as an example, okay. Right? So whenever we have a B2C company that approaches us, we make it very clear we're B2B, but there are lots of agencies out there that can service them very well. So we'll make introductions, we'll make referrals, but we will stick to where we're very deep, where our expertise is, where we can produce the biggest wins for clients, and that's B2B.
Out of curiosity, the differences between B2B marketing and B2C marketing is probably a whole lot different, maybe even beyond just the tools and mechanics of some of the strategies. But how would you sort of identify the differences between B2B marketing and B2C marketing? I mean, is it just freaking everything, or are there some really big standout things that go, well, this is really different, and this is why you really can't do a great job at both because they're so different? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So there are several differences. One, with a B2B sale, especially with high ticket items, you're dealing with a team. You're selling to a team of people. You're not selling to one person. It's not like a consumer who wants to buy a chocolate bar. It's not like that at all. It's many months, so it takes a long time to make a sale, and you have to nurture them through that process. And it's not just nurturing them through that process, but you have to nurture the entire team. That means there's an economic buyer, there's a business buyer, there's a decision maker, there's a technical influencer. There are all these people who are involved in the sale, and you need to make sure that you're marketing to all of them and making sure that all of them understand your differentiation, understand how you're going to make them win greater by hiring you. And you just don't deal with that really in B2C. The other thing with B2B is oftentimes you'll find in the landscape, companies can be a little bit on the boring side. Historically, it's much better today than it was even just 5 years ago. But there's still a lot of companies out there that for some reason feel that they need to be boring because they are B2B. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around that and understand why. And so, it's a nice opportunity for us to educate them and to guide them through the process of really creating a brand, right? You don't have to just explain your product and explain the specs and explain why your technology is great or your methodology is great or that you've been around for 100 years or 200 years. It's really much more about customer centricity and connecting with them on a deep level, engaging with them. A big part of our differentiation is that we focus on neuroscience and behavioral science and applying brain science to marketing. And when you do that, you kind of cut through all the crap, right? And you really start connecting with humans, with people, right? And you get them feeling. A lot of B2B still have a lot of work to do in getting there, in understanding that you need to connect with your audience on a subconscious level. You can't just do what we call dictionary marketing and explain this is our product and these are the features.
Yeah, gosh. I mean, because I'm curious to know more about how you guys are sort of using the neuroscience, the behavioral science part of it in this, because I know, from a consumer standpoint, when you're buying something, it's literally for yourself, a shirt, you have emotional attachment to something, whether it's, whatever it is, there's a deeper emotional attachment to it than there is if I'm buying a piece of CRM software for a company. And so, attributing that sort of connection to a B2B product is probably quite difficult, and that's probably why so many companies have a hard time having real conversations about things and connecting on that level. So how do you do it?
So I'll take a step back and explain kind of where all this is coming from, and then we can segue into how we apply it, right? So there's neuroscientist Antonio Damasio ran some really interesting studies of people who had damage to the part of the brain that triggers emotions. And so these people couldn't feel any emotion. They couldn't feel happy. They couldn't feel sad. They couldn't feel angry. But they were fully functioning adults. If you met them, you wouldn't know that there was anything wrong with them. But because they couldn't feel anything, they also, when they were faced with a purchase decision or really any type of decision, they would endlessly waffle. And the reason is because they couldn't feel strongly enough about option A versus option B. You know, like even if something as stupid as like, what am I going to have for dinner tonight, right? Should I have salmon or should I have meatloaf? And well, salmon, that's really healthy. I really like that. That is so healthy for me. But meatloaf, you know, I remember my childhood. But salmon, but meatloaf, but that, and you go back and forth because you can't feel stronger about one versus the other. And the same with any purchase decision. It's the same with making a decision to sign up for lead generation world. It's the same with signing up for a webinar. It's the same with deciding to join us on this live stream. If you're not evoking an emotional response, you're making it mentally and physically more difficult for them, for the audience, to make the decision to engage with you, to buy from you, to attend, to register, to fill out your form. And so what Antonio Damasio found was that without emotion, human beings, any human being, has a very difficult time making any type of decision, especially purchase decisions. And so when you take that as your core, right, and you understand that that is the foundation of humans, that's the foundation of people, that's the foundation of your customers, your audience, you need to evoke an emotional response. You need to. It's a necessity. It's a necessary ingredient in the cake that we're baking, right? We need to evoke an emotional response, and then we are far more likely to engage them. They're far more likely to sign up for the webinar or to sign up for Lead Generation World or to sign up for our services, right? Whatever it is, whatever that decision is, but you have to evoke an emotional response. That's one core part of it. I mean, I could go on, but that's a big core foundational piece of it.
Okay, so I get that. I totally get that. But how do you evoke that emotional response? You know, and what is that emotional response attachment to? Let's pick an example and just run with would a CRM or is there, I don't know, would that be a good example of a product? Or
any B2B product, sure.
So CRM, I need it for my company. We're growing. We need to be able to monitor and track customers as they come in better. How, as someone selling that to me. And maybe this is maybe the tables need to be turned a little bit.Maybe I don't need it yet, because if I need it, maybe there's already an emotional attachment to it, that need. But how do you engage an emotional connection on something that is so emotionless, like a CRM?
Yeah. So there are various ways that you should do it. And it's interesting because I actually studied the CRM market. I guess it was about a year and a half ago. And what I found was that the vast majority, maybe 95% of the messaging was all dictionary marketing. And so it was
like features and
just we're a global CRM solution, or we are a comprehensive CRM solution. We're a 360-degree CRM solution. We're whatever it was all just we are CRM. And especially when you look at, say, 15, 20 different options, and they're all just saying that they're CRM solutions or CRM software, it becomes very obvious that there's no differentiation. I mean, I don't feel anything towards any of them. They're all the same to me, right? Yeah. Because they're all just telling me what I already know, that they're CRM software. Why do you think I came to your website, right? Like I know you're just telling me your product. And that's not going to evoke an emotional response out of me, the site visitor. And so, what if I was launching a CRM software solution and I was faced with that type of competitive landscape, I would go all in on things like storytelling or mirror neurons, and I can go into what that is. I would make it very, very visual. Half of the neurons in our brains are dedicated to vision. We're very, very visual creatures. We respond to that. That's how it's easiest for us to process information in the brain, is when it's visual. And so, you apply all of these different aspects of understanding how the human brain works and understanding behavioral science, and then you differentiate yourself accordingly. So for instance, one of the first things I mentioned was stories. Well, imagine if instead of just saying we are a comprehensive CRM solution, what if right on the homepage of our website, we're featuring a story of a company that was hugely successful because of our software. So we're not talking about our software, we're talking about them. We're making our customer the hero, and we're talking about our customer, right? And then that gets them fired up, right? Because there's something called mirror neurons where when you see something, the neurons in your brain actually react as if you're going through it yourself. You're not. It's as if you are not seeing someone else go through it. It's as if your body is going through it itself. So there was a group of neuroscientists and grad students studying with them in Parma, Italy, and they were studying monkeys. So they would put the nodes on the monkeys' heads to study their neurons and their neuronal patterns. One day, a graduate student walked into the lab with an ice cream cone, and he was licking the ice cream cone, and the monkeys went berserk. And you might say, well, sure, it's ice cream. But here's the thing. So when they looked at the actual neurons that were being fired in the monkeys' brains, it was the same exact neurons as if the monkeys were eating the ice cream themselves. There was no difference. And so
it's like a dog salivating, right? It's like that, that salivation, when they see the food or whatever, or smell it, whatever.
Right. Exactly. And so when you enable your audience to live it before they purchase from you, it's experiential, it's emotional, you make it visual, you make it memorable is another one, right? And you tell stories. Storytelling actually changes the chemistry in the brain. It releases oxytocin, which is an empathy drug of sorts. So all of a sudden you're loving this brand, right? You're loving the experience, and all of these things are happening through a simple story, instead of saying we're a comprehensive CRM solution.
So it sounds like the idea would even potentially be, creating or visualizing the emotions that you want them to have, right? So being relieved or happy, or this made the process easier, and putting that up on the website so that it gets invoked and mirrored, and they then in turn can say, okay, if by getting this, I'm going to have these same feelings.
Yes, absolutely. And so
yeah, go ahead.
So a lot of companies will show screenshots of their software, or if it's in the financial services space, it's very dedicated to money. But the bottom line is you want to show their state, their after state. If they use you, if they use your services, your products, what happens to them? How do they change? And so I remember seeing a financial services company where you go on their homepage and all the imagery was on the beach, like people drinking wine and having a wonderful life, right? Because if you use their financial services, then the idea is you will achieve peace of mind, you'll achieve all of your dreams, and it's not the money, it's just the luxury and the happiness and the peace of mind that you're really purchasing. And so that's really what we're after. Is there's a time when they purchase from you, and then there's after that, right? So their state changes, and then you want to focus on that after state.
Yeah. So obviously the science is clear on emotions and firing endorphins, all these sorts of the different things, and neurons. But at the end of the day, does it work? Like, so like the financial guy, you got two financial websites on financial plan. You got one that says, it's got numbers and your potential return on investment and what we're going to do and blah, blah, blah. And then you got another one that's like guy imagery, on the beach, or some type of imagery of financial freedom, however that wants to be displayed. Because I would think that there are different types of people. And this is where I think it gets difficult when companies, even ourselves, think about putting a website. What is that messaging, and who are the people that we're going to reach more broadly, and then cutting people out? So maybe some people go, oh, that imagery connects. I want to be on the beach. And others go, and that's just bullshit. I want to know what my return on investment is, because I don't really care about going to the beach. I just want to, it's something else. It's something else, right? They don't attach themselves to that.
Yeah.
So two-part question is, one, do those two things work? And then the second question is, how do you balance the two to be able to speak to a broader audience?
Yeah. Well, I think you're correct that you're never going to appeal to 100% of your audience with one message. It's kind of impossible because, we're humans and we're different. People are different. And so, you have to pick and choose what your segment is in the audience, right? So what's your audience segment? And that's really important. Audience segmentation is really big. We always start there. Always, we start with audience segmentation and then personas and customer journey. And so, yes, necessarily people are going to be different. And audience segments are different, personas are different, customer journeys are different. And so you have to think about all of that holistically in order to connect with people very deeply and engage with them more deeply. So pick and choose. And let's say that here's an example. So years ago, I was looking at Mint software before the acquisition and comparing it to others in the market. The others in the market were really focused on showing spreadsheets, like screenshots of spreadsheets, right? And I get it, I totally get it. And I agree, some people really respond well to that and they respond more strongly to that. And that's fine, that's one segment of the market. Mint was the only one that I found at that time, this was a few years ago, at that time, where it was literally the person on the beach with a glass of wine in her hand. And Mint grew like crazy and was acquired for billions of dollars. And so I would say it worked for them. But I agree with you. They weren't capturing everyone in the market, but they were capturing their audience.
You know what's funny? It reminds you. Well, they just caught more than the next guy, which is the point. It's kind of like that Red Bull commercial. Have you seen it where the two deers and there's a lion in the thing, and he gets a Red Bull and he's like, Red Bull's not gonna make you outrun this lion. He's like, no, I just have to run faster than you.
Right.
And so I guess at the end of the day, if you're doing more business than the next guy, then you win. But regardless, so that's really interesting. I got distracted with a stupid story there, but
and there's a whole other aspect of it besides sales, which is brand love, right?
Yeah. That's where I was going to actually segue into, because now we're talking about sort of emotional marketing, and I don't know what what the term would be for it, but marketing is going to derive some type of emotional attachment to whatever the product or service is. But now, so that's the top funnel. Now what happens to the once somebody comes in, now they're a lead, they fill out an inquiry. That sales sort of funnel or that sales enablement communication has to also probably follow along those same emotional strings too, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Ideally, it's going to be in every aspect of your marketing and your sales. It's going to be quite integrated. And I'll give you an example. So before starting Stratabeat, I was at the digital marketing agency iProspect. And I was the 85th employee. It was just one office when I joined. And when I joined, there were about maybe 3 or 4 case studies, and everyone reused those same case studies over and over and over again, no matter who the prospect was, because those were the only case studies that we had. And so I became a director of digital strategy, and I said, well, this doesn't make sense, because what you want to do is customize the case study. You want to customize the story so that it resonates most deeply with who you're talking to, whatever brand that is, right? And whatever challenges that they're trying to overcome. And so I brought my team together, and we all agreed we were going to create 100 case studies that year. And remember, we only had a handful to begin with, right? And for years and years, the company only had a handful. And so we started out by just taking one account. And instead of creating one case study out of that account, we created 5 different case studies, because we took different stories from the same account, different angles. Well, what about this challenge for this type of a brand? Or that brand isn't going to have that, that challenge. They'll have this other challenge over here, but we can still speak to it because our team was so good that they were able to solve multiple challenges, right? And so we're going to come away with 5 different case studies. We're going to build the slides ahead of time so everyone has them. We'll have a long form version, we'll have a short form version, and we build a database so that it's super easy access. And we achieved it. I think that we achieved it by within 9 months or 10 months. So it didn't even take a year to build 100 new case studies. And so you're right, Michael, that if you're going to do this, it really does have to carry over. It can't just be a marketing thing. It can't just be, fluff. It has to be real. It has to be who you really are, and you have to live it. And, I love case studies. I love case studies because you get to tell stories, you get to connect on a more human level, and you get to activate the mirror neurons in your audience. And also it gets them talking. My attitude is that when you're talking with a client, they should be talking the majority of the time. Even if you're pitching them, when you're pitching them, they should be talking the majority of the time. And I'll tell you, when I joined iProspect, it was interesting. One of the first questions that I asked was, okay, in a sales pitch, what percentage of the time is the client talking? That was one of my first questions. And the answer was like, I don't know, like 10%, 20%, whatever. And
interesting.
And I said, well, we got to change that. It needs to be the majority, the vast majority. We went on from 85 employees, we went on to grow to over 700 employees in 5 years. In 5 years, that's all it took. And the more that you are customizing, the more that you are telling stories, the more that you stop talking about yourself and start talking about them and getting them living it and experiencing it, the more sales you're going to make.
Yeah, it makes sense. I totally get it. So actually, I wanted to ask you about iProspect because iProspect they were a lead gen company, right? Were they not generating some mortgage leads? I can't remember.
So iProspect was an SEO company when I joined.
SEO, okay.
Yeah, and then they added paid search, and so it was SEO and paid search, and then down the road they added display advertising. But while I was there, it was really mainly an SEO and a paid search company.
Okay. I was thinking maybe I'm thinking of something else, but I obviously remember iProspect, and they're still around.
Oh yeah, they're quite big.
Yeah. So you go from that company with Adobe, and then going into iProspect and getting into the strategy. And were you also doing paid media? Were you managing paid media accounts at that time?
So I wasn't personally, but certainly our account teams were.
Yeah, yes. Sure. No, but you personally were managing the strategy and
right.
oversight.
Right.
Yep. So what was the did you always want to, did you always envision yourself being a founder or a CEO of your own company? Was it, or is it something that kind of showed up and said, okay, now this is my chance, I could do this better, and this is why you started Stratabeat? What was the genesis of Stratabeat and how that came about?
So it's funny because I had a friend who was a career coach, and I hired her at one point in my career, and I was like, hey, you're a career coach, like I should talk to you. And she was like, sure, let's do it. And so it was a great experience. And she asked very, very probing questions, and it really made me stop and think about, okay, what do I want out of my career? She said, don't worry about your next job. Do not think about what do I want for my next job. She said, what do you want for your career, the entire career? Looking back, what is your ideal career? And I was like, ooh, that's awesome. And so I realized, wow, I really do want my own business. That's what I want. That would make me happiest. And then we started talking about the types of business. And it became obvious that an agency was perfect because you deal with all these different clients and all these different challenges, and you can help so many different companies to succeed, and then they can hire more people and they can help the world. And it's just, it really appealed to me. And so that opened my eyes completely. And so I said, okay, well, if I'm going to start an agency, I need to work at one and learn the business. And so that's when I applied to iProspect and joined.
Oh, okay. So you had that meeting prior to iProspect.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So yeah, go ahead. So you go to iProspect for a couple years to get a feel of the lay of the land, so to speak. Yeah. And then what?
Yeah, so I was at iProspect for 5 years. Great company, great people. I mean, I can't say enough great things about iProspect. Just amazing people. But at that point, I was ready to move on, and I wanted to have more tools in the toolbox. So instead of just solving every problem with search, I wanted to be able to blow up someone's website and reconstruct it, right? And optimize it in many different ways. Yes, absolutely for SEO, but then also for experience. I wanted, the brand impact. I wanted the brand love. I wanted to tackle all of these issues because at the end of my time with iProspect, what was happening was I would walk into a meeting and I would have these amazing, really in-depth conversations that would go on for sometimes 3 to 4 hours with like the CMO or the VP of marketing at a Fortune 500 brand. And we would hardly talk about SEO. What we were talking about was solving their problems. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Ironically, they would then hire us for their SEO because they get, they understood we got it. Like we weren't just in our little niche and ignoring the rest of their reality, right? And putting our lens around all of their reality. And so, they benefited from it, but I loved being able to think more holistically and comprehensively and in an integrated fashion with all of their marketing, everything that they were trying to do. We would even talk about targeting, like how can you target better? Who, maybe change your audience to this or that. And that was awesome. That was really fun. And so I was like, okay, I need to break free and do this on my own so that I have more tools in the toolbox and I can have these conversations and then be hired to tackle all of these problems. Now, ironically, what we're focused on today as a business is, we did have to put the guardrails up at a certain point and say, where we're really exceptional is on the organic side of the business. So that's SEO, that's content development, it's content marketing, it's ABM, account-based marketing, it's design, any type of, web design, landing pages, microsites, or designing lead magnets and things like conversion optimization and behavioral intelligence. What it's not is anything related to paying to play. So paid search, digital advertising, right? Native advertising, any type of paid performance, we say no to. We don't do that. What we do is in our area of focus, so it's not only B2B is our focus, but also organic growth is our focus. So we call ourselves a B2B organic growth agency. And we're looking to own digital properties. We're looking to earn trust, and that's how we win. And we don't rent a click, right? We don't pay for a click. We don't rent our growth. We own it. And what we find is the growth is more substantial over the long. It takes longer. It definitely takes longer. Yeah. I was just meeting with a prospect yesterday. I told them, if you're not willing to look at this as a long-term engagement and give us 1 year to be successful, we want to be massively successful for them. But I said, if you're going to get impatient in month 3 or 4 or 5, don't pay us anything. Like, don't spend your money with us because we're the wrong agency. And maybe paid media is a better option for you. And so we're very committed to the organic growth model.
Yeah. And so you just had your 11th anniversary, I think, at Stratabeat, which congratulations. It's anything over a year or two, as they say, is amazing. But over 10 years, 11 years is excellent. And especially in the agency world, whether it's SEO or brand agent, whatever it is, it can be challenging. Right? To your point of the last conversation, people give up, they get impatient, they whatever it is, and you lose a client and you get disappointed because you were right there. You see the path probably clearer than they do. But I gotta imagine there's a lot of struggles that you've gone through as an agency owner. What are those sort of challenges that agency owners sort of go through that you've experienced as well?
Sure. One thing which I learned through the years was whenever a client is focused on the price and they're asking for discounts, and that's the conversation you're having, Bad news, man. That is bad news. We have suffered so much pain by sticking with clients like that. Yeah. And they're the wrong clients. At least for us, they are the wrong clients.
It's almost it's arguably as important that you qualify your prospects, your clients that you're going to go and get into bed with or get married to, than it is that they are qualifying you.
Yeah, it really is. And so we do say no to a lot of businesses, and that's best for them and it's best for us, because we can tell at this point, we've been around long enough, we've had enough engagements, we've had enough clients, and we have had our bumps and bruises when we took on the wrong client, where we can tell whether it's a really good fit pretty quickly. And when it's just not the right fit for whatever reason, we can tell that pretty quickly as well. And the sooner any agency recognizes that and then really goes after their ideal customer profile, document it, understand exactly who you love to work with, who you can help the most, who appreciates what you're doing, who's a real team member with you, and it's a real partnership, then that agency is going to thrive. And whenever you try and stretch it and you make excuses like, well, but there, maybe it's going to grow into this and maybe it's going to become that, maybe it's going to evolve. It never, at least for our experience, it never works that way. It's the wrong fit from the start, from day one, and it's going to be the wrong fit a year from now. And so really it's just better to just hone in on who you work best with, say no to a lot of prospects, and that's much better growth in my opinion.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I'm going to actually put it up here. So for those that are watching the video, you just wrote a book, Rethink Lead Generation, and it's going to be released soon, right? What's the, when is it coming out?
So it's coming out later this month, January 25th. Okay. Yep.
Perfect. And so explain to me, what the old way of thinking was and what we need to rethink about lead generation.
Yeah. So what you find with a lot of marketers who are involved in lead generation is year to year, they tend to do a lot of the same things, right? And if they do a lot of email, then they continue doing a lot of email. Do they change it up? Well, slightly. Maybe they'll tweak it a little bit. They'll test something here or there. But really what they're doing is they're tinkering around the edges. We see that all the time. We see tinkering around the edges. Tinkering doesn't work. It doesn't unleash growth. You see a lot of companies where they're following their competitors, right? A successful competitor did this, and so we're going to try it too, right? Or something is being hyped in the media, and so we're going to try that. And that none of those approaches unleashes growth. What you really need to do, and it's counterintuitive, is you need to really hone in on extreme creativity and lateral thinking and marketing innovation, and put all of your chips into the center of the table and be bold, have a backbone and be bold. Those are the companies that unleash growth. Those are the companies that grow the most substantially. And you see it time and time and time again. I interviewed over 20 different marketing executives, marketing leaders in the industry for the book. Every single case where they're telling me about their growth and what spurred their growth, they were doing something outrageous. They were doing something new, something that was laughable, right? and so, what I would encourage people to do is really understand the value of creativity. Creativity is highly undervalued, right? It's underappreciated, yet it is the greatest driver of growth, and it's your true form of differentiation. If you can be more creative than your competition, how can they catch up? How can they stop you? How can they copy you? They can't. If it's your technology, they can leapfrog your technology. They can't leapfrog your creativity.
But that's easier said than done. Just be more creative, try new things. That's actually really scary, for most people.
It's really scary because think about this, Michael, it's someone's job on the line.
Yeah.
And that's why they're too timid to be bold and put their chips in the middle of the table, because it could cost them their job. And I'm sensitive to that. I get it. I totally understand why many marketers hesitate taking very bold moves, because then if it doesn't work out, they're afraid of being let go.
Well, so what's the recommendation then? Obviously the recommendation is think out the box, try new things, be creative. But how do you do it in a responsible way?
Yep. I think that there are two paths that you can take at the same time, parallel paths, right? One is really focusing on profit. Where are you most profitable? And then you have to double down on that. And you need to first generate profits and have a little bit of a cushion going, right? Where you know you have this cash cow going, but then you make bold moves, right? And the way that we like to make bold moves is we have a matrix. We have a matrix that we use. And so we brainstorm all the ideas that we have, and then we'll evaluate it for about 4 or 5 different criteria. One being, how quickly can we get this live? Another is, how easy is it to go live? Another is the cost. Another is, okay, how much revenue is going to come out of doing it this way? And then overall, you look at all of that and you put it together for the ROI. And you say, okay, what's the realistic ROI that we're going to achieve with this? And so if you need to be bold in time for a conference, in time for lead generation world, and I want to launch a campaign, well, then, time is a criteria that has to be part of that matrix, right? It has to be fast, because even if the ROI is fantastic, if it's too slow, if it's going to take too long, if it's going to take me a year and I'm going to miss your conference, then it's irrelevant. And so this matrix is fantastic because it accommodates everything. It accommodates your budget, accommodates your timing, accommodates how easy it is, the team members that you have in your knowledge base. And then, you can be realistic about the revenue and the ROI expectations, just be conservative about it. And if you brainstorm based off of that, what we find is you can come up with incredibly creative, innovative, yet very reliable approaches to marketing and to lead generation.
So the story in the book is, be bold and creative, but what are the real world strategies are there real world strategies inside that book that can be taken away and applied?
Yeah, there are. So the book goes through very specifically what you should do with your website, exactly what you should do with your website. And then it looks at SEO, and it looks at content marketing, and it looks at ABM, account-based marketing. It looks at a referral program. Most companies don't have a formal documented referral program. It's all just, they happen to get some referrals, and they're lucky that they do, but it's all random.
Yeah.
And I think that's the majority. I forget the stat, but I think it's the vast majority of companies don't have a documented referral program. That's insane. Because for so many companies, even our agency, for so many companies, referrals is a large percentage of your revenue. I mean, it really should be. If you're a good company, it should be 30, 40, 50% of your revenue, and just have an army of extra salespeople out there selling for you, right? Yeah. And so the book walks through the website and SEO and content and ABM and referrals in a very tangible, actionable way. I'll give you an example. For the website, many things you could do. One of the first things I talk about is you need IP detection software. You need to know who's on your website. And here's the thing that we find no company is doing. You need to check it every single day. Every single day. Michael, it's the first thing that I look at in the morning. When I start my workday, I look at our IP detection software and I see exactly which companies are on our website and what they're doing there. And then we conduct outreach at the ones who are qualified. And that's something very actionable that a lot of companies can do. And this is for B2B specifically, right? Yet, we're an agency. We meet lots and lots of different prospective clients, right? And at conferences, we meet lots of companies. I think I've yet to meet a company that checks their IP detection software and looks at which companies are on their site every single day, first thing in the morning. I don't think I've met one yet.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. What type of software do you use for that? Is it just Google Analytics, or is it something else?
No, so Google Analytics will not give you that data. That's the secret. So everyone uses Google Analytics, and Google Analytics doesn't give you that data at all, and it never will. And so unless you have a developer who's going to go in and customize the code to extract that, but most companies aren't going to do that.
Yeah.
And so there are packages that right out of the box will give you that data. So we use software called Lead Feeder. So you can just go to leadfeeder.com and check them out. We also have used Lead Forensics. So they're at leadforensics.com, and they're fantastic as well. Both of those software packages are amazing at uncovering which companies are on your site. And if the person is in your CRM or in your database or in your email list, you'll see the actual person come up as well. And instead of having analytics of, oh, okay, this many people came to this page today, you're saying, oh, okay, well, we had 4 different people at IBM come to our site today. And this is what each individual did specifically. This is how long they were on this page, this page, this page. Then what we also do, and this is going beyond IP detection software, we look at behavioral analytics as well. And we'll marry up either the IP address or the timing and the location so that we can see the exact path that these people are going through at that company. So we can see the experience. We can see where they're frustrated. We can see exactly what they're doing on the page. Rather than just knowing they're on this page, I want to know what they did on that page. And the behavioral analytics reveals that.
Yeah, it's really powerful. I can imagine. I bet the challenge is taking that and taking, action on it, right? Or something that's sort of automated action on those types of things. But yeah, that's amazing. Tell me one thing, because I know I only got you for like 9 more minutes here, and I'm gonna make sure we in soon. I told you we could probably talk all day. But you're going to be speaking at Lead Generation World coming up.
Yes.
What are you going to be talking about?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about how you use content and content marketing to increase your leads. And yeah, we're going to hopefully blow some minds. We're going to go deep into, how you do things like use IP detection software. How do you use behavioral analytics and really get the most out of it? How do you drive the most leads from it? So we're going to look at lots of different angles. It's not only those two. We have a whole slew of different approaches and different technologies and different considerations of how you increase leads through specifically content development and content marketing. Yeah, and I can't wait to meet everyone and to share these stories and share all these how-tos with them.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really great. I love sessions like this where you really are showing a pathway and the tools and how to actually implement it. The worst is going to a session that goes, oh, you should be doing content marketing, but they don't really show you how to do it. I want to know, like, come on, show me the goods so that I can go back and really apply it back home. So I'm excited for this session as well.
Cool. Yeah, it's going to be very actionable. If someone is in the audience and they wanted to, they could be implementing this stuff the next day.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's do this. What's the best way to get a hold of you? I know I've got your, well, first off, we got the book here. So rethinkleadgeneration.com. So people should definitely, I think they can go put their email in. They'll be notified as soon as it's released. So they should do that today. Super simple. They can connect with you on LinkedIn at Tom Shapiro. Probably a good way to message you there too. Any other way? Obviously Stratabeat, then go to your website.
So that's our agency.
What else? Does that cover it?
Yeah, that covers it. And if you're going to be at Lead Generation World, would love to meet you. So please, after the session or before the session, come up and introduce yourself. Would love to meet you and talk with you and just it would be fantastic to just not only see faces in the audience, but to get to know you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I really appreciate it. It's fascinating to, hear your story and how you came through the industry and how successful Stratabeat's been and what you guys are doing there. And certainly wish you the best on this book. I think everybody should absolutely check it out. There's going to be a lot of great information there. I certainly will be doing that. And I'm thinking, man, I need to give you a call, period. We need to start talking about B2B marketing for events. I really appreciate it, Tom. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I really look forward to seeing you in San Diego, sunny San Diego. It's supposed to be 66, and you were saying it's 6 degrees where you're at. So it's going to be a nice change.
Yes. I can't wait to see you, Michael.
Yeah. I can't wait. Oh, man. All right. Good stuff, Tom. I appreciate it. And we'll see you in San Diego.
Okay. Take care. Thank you so much.